Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast focusing on meditation, the near-death experience, and all things spiritual. Hello, this is Jay Spillers with Inspire Me with Jay. My guest today is Billy Mandarino. How are you, Billy?
Another day in paradise. Jay, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. So you talk a lot about dealing with being overwhelmed in society. How do you cope with that?
That's a great question, because I think you would agree, Jay, that the last couple of years have been the most stressed out and overwhelmed time, I think, in the planet's history. There's a collective energy and a collective consciousness that's just at a breaking point. And I think this pandemic pushed a lot of people over the edge. So teaching the Nowist teachings that I've been blessed to connect to and I guess download, if you will, from divine sources are about teaching people how to live in the present moment as a way of life, not as just a clever play on words, but as a way of a practice, a ritual, a way of being out of time, getting out of this past future time, this linear time that we all live in, wishing that it was different than it was the last 2 years and hoping it's better in the next 2 years, and getting out of all that mind stuff and connecting to the present moment. Because when you can get out of the linear or psychological past future time and get what I call getting the vertical, the divine line that goes straight up to the present moment, which is divine time, where there's two cross, that is the now. And that's what I'm obsessed about, is teaching people how to live in the present moment with your imagination focused on what it is you want, connecting to your breath, to your energy, to your heart source of who you really are, instead of getting caught up in these ideas and these mind-made concepts of, well, I'll be happy if this happens, or gosh, I hope this doesn't happen again. When I do this, I'll be fulfilled or happy. It's really all an illusion, as many great teachers in the East have called it Maya, this cosmic delusion. I'm just trying to wake everybody up and have you live in the present moment as a way of life. And I teach that.
And so with Nowism, is there any differences or additions that you have to your understanding, as opposed to like in mindfulness, we talk about being in the present moment. Are there any additional things you have with Nowism?
Well, I believe that our imagination is the greatest gift that we've ever been given. So I teach people, I teach souls, like-hearted minds, and people that are inspired by this teaching, how to make this a practice, a daily practice. So I have the Nowist meditation that I created, that is a 1-minute meditation, and it involves 4 prayers, and it involves your breath, and it involves your imagination, and getting your awareness out of the gravity of your problems, the gravity of this physical world, and getting yourself out of the 4th dimension, which is time. The 5th dimension is the quantum realm. So I do this short meditation, and you can do this as a divergent meditation, where you're focused with your eyes closed, or a convergent meditation with your eyes open, where you're looking out, but you're using your imagination, you're using the highest intuitive awareness that you have within your being, and that helps you get out of time. And when you can do that as a way of life, this 1-minute meditation, I know for myself that it changed my life, and it actually saved my life a couple of years ago.
Have you ever wanted to learn to meditate? Check out my book, Meditation for Everyone: How to Quickly Have a More Peaceful, Mindful, and Fulfilled Life, and support this channel. With Meditation for Everyone, you will learn to quickly and easily meditate, relieve stress and anxiety, alleviate depression, and have more joy, peace, and relaxation. What you will learn: mindfulness, the art of stillness, step by step on how to meditate, strategies for overcoming challenges to meditation, and much more. D. Mason said this is a nice meditation book, even for those already meditating. I agree with the statements that it will help to have a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilled life. 4.6-star rating, available on Amazon. Do you actually have this online that people can go listen to it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to billymandarino.com, my name.com, I have, on my YouTube, I have 530 free videos. They're all teachings. I have Of course, my book, which is The Nowist, is on Audible. It's on, you can buy it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com, but you can also go to my website and click on my podcast. And the first 18 episodes of my podcast are my book, The Nowist, being read to you for free. And my site is full of all kinds of free teaching. So I'm all about paying it forward and about serving the world and doing my part and elevating the planet so we can all collectively benefit from people living in presence and higher levels of awareness.
How do you stay present in such a stressful and overwhelming world? What are some of the things you would tell people to do right away?
Well, it all comes down to, Jay, to how do you use your attention? How do you use your subjective attention and your objective attention? Your objective attention is, okay, focused on like I've got quite a few appointments today. And I'm also a spiritual teacher, but I'm also a realtor and a property manager and a dad and a husband and a golfer and a musician. And I do all kinds of things. And you think, most people think that it puts a lot of stress in your life when you start to do a lot in this physical world. It sounds corny, you've heard it 100 times, but we're human beings, not human doings. But you find when you live in the present moment and you learn how to get out of time, that you can do a lot, but do it without stress. And I do that not to brag about how much I can do and how much abundance I can create. But when you live as a Nowist, when you live as someone who's focused on the present moment, 90% of the day I live in present moment awareness. 10%, I've got emails to do, appointments, I've got things to take care of and physically time-bound things. But the majority of my life, I do them with this present moment awareness, not focused on the next appointment or the disappointment that happened yesterday or worrying about this thing I've got coming up tomorrow, or I just live as a way of life. So practically, if you start your day with priming, what I call, you prime your day, you have the morning, you have to have routines and rituals where you connect to your awareness, connect to your imagination, connect to your breath. But the beauty of this 1 minute meditation, the Nowist meditation, is you can do it and it becomes a habit. It takes 1 minute. So when you feel overwhelmed or stressed or out of sorts, you can connect back to this 1 minute meditation with your breathing. If you're in an office meeting, if you're driving, if you're a mom stressed out with their kids, if you're, just need a break from your spouse because you just had a big fight, or in the process of the fight, you can do all kinds of artfully connected present exercises that I have. I also work with a Ho'oponopono. Are you familiar with that, Jay?
No, I haven't heard of that.
It's an ancient Hawaiian teaching that came into the world maybe 10, 15 years ago, to the Western world, that is. It's been in Hawaii for hundreds of years. It's an ancient teaching. It's called a Ho'oponopono. Don't try to spell that one, Jay. You might hurt yourself. But it teaches you with, once again, there's 4 simple prayers in this meditation. And it's not even really, I guess, a meditation. It's cleaning and clearing the energy of your body, of your awareness, of your focused attention. And Ho'oponopono is so powerful, but it's so simple. And that's why I think most people miss it. So I've been teaching that for years. And it's part of what I teach with morning rituals, how I teach to clean and clear your energy with a few simple things. So I always want to make it simple. I don't want to go esoteric and complex because, as you know, in this society, it's speeding up. The world's not slowing down. The world is speeding up. So how do we find our presence in this crazy, out of control, runaway train that is this inertia of the world right now? When you think about everything that's going on with the stock market, with interest rates, inflation, with the war, there's so much stress happening right now in the world that we have to find ways to be nimble and quick to get out of stress and overwhelm. But the Ho'oponopono prayer is very simple. But I connect this prayer to my heart when I say it and when I teach people how to use it in their everyday life. And I connect it with the breath. But here are the 4 prayers. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you. Those 4 prayers, Jay, try them. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or just tense or focused on things that don't support your happiness and your higher levels of presence, breathe into your heart, put your hands on your heart, your left hand on the bottom, your right hand on the top. Left hand covers the bottom because you have this vein on your ring finger that's called the venous amoris. It's the most rich blood supply in your hand. And the reason we put our wedding ring on that finger is because it leads right to the heart. So you put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of your heart, and you breathe in this count. It's just such a quick thing your audience can do. You can do So you breathe into this count, you go. So it's like breathing in for 2 and breathing out for 2. So you're saying, and on the inhalation, please forgive me, I am sorry. On the exhalation, thank you, I love you. So on the inhalation, you're saying, please forgive me, I am sorry. On the exhalation, thank you, I love you. And when you can put your awareness, Jay, on the energy in your body, the disappointment, the heartbreak, the anger, the tension, the road rage, whatever it is in people's life, and you can do that prayer, 5, 6 times. In that moment, you'll find that you interrupt the pattern of the mind thinking about, hurt and harm, and the ego has been affected. And for me, it's been a really powerful way to teach people presence in a very short amount of time, and then how to use this in your daily life, and then how to clean on not just yourself, but you clean on other people that have disappointed you. So in your imagination, once again, one of the greatest gifts you've been given, you hold that person in your awareness, Jay, and you're cleaning on them with your attention on them, doing that same 4-count breath pattern with the prayer. And then you've cleaned your energy and you clean their energy. And what happens is you have what's called like a blank sheet of glass where nothing can stick to it. That's why this Hawaiian Huna, who created this prayer hundreds of years ago, knew it's about clearing and cleaning energy. So the point of attraction, the law of attraction, cannot activate in your life in a negative way.
So in terms of like a morning routine, that's part of the morning routine. Are there any other things you do?
It is. This is my bed. This is the bedroom my wife and I sleep in. And before I get up, I have that left hand on my heart, my right hand on my heart. And I send my prayers of gratitude out to my life and into the world. But then most mornings I clean and clear my energy before I get out of bed, because you want to be that clean sheet of glass that has nothing but your power of your attention connect to it. So I know from there I'm clean. Then it's almost like you take a shower when you get up in the morning, or you brush your teeth. You have to have good habits and rituals to prime your day, to start your day. And then I do the Nowist meditation, which takes 1 minute in front of my slider, which faces south. We're blessed to have an ocean view here. So I look out there, then I close my eyes and do my 1 minute meditation. Then I do some slight yoga stretching and calisthenics, and I've primed my day. And then what happens, Jay, is your body every morning starts to recognize these positive hormones that you're creating in your body, this epinephrine, this serotonin, this positive chemistry, and you subconsciously start to program yourself. And so every morning you start waking up with a better attitude, you start feeling more energy. And then throughout the day, when stressors happen, you do the Ho'oponopono, you do the Nowist meditation, you connect to your heart and you breathe into your heart, and you interrupt these negative energy events that happen in your life so you can keep in presence and live as a Nowist.
Do you have a time where you do a longer meditation sometime during the day?
It's interesting you say that, Jay, because I know, speaking to many teachers and looking at people's schedules for meditation, how they plan 2 hours in a day to meditate. And I understand all that. But for me, I've been doing this for about 10 years now. And I find that I meditate consistently throughout the day, but it only takes 1 minute. Because if you have meditation's about being out of your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the word meditate to become familiar with. What are we becoming familiar with when you break the word down? We're becoming familiar with our highest self, our God realized self. And to do that, people sometimes will meditate for an hour or two because they want to prime themselves in a very dramatic, deep way. But I found in my life that I do it consistently, once again, with my eyes open or with my eyes closed. But when I feel the physical energy of stress or the egoic concept of doubt and worry and fear in my mind, I just recognize it. Like, I have a very low pain threshold, Jay, I guess you might say, because I can sense it quick and I automatically get out of it. You can feel it in your shoulders, your neck, you can feel it in your back, feel it in your throat. And just ways to get out of that quickly, because maybe some people don't have 30 minutes in their day to go and meditate and try and get clear. You have to be nimble because somebody just triggered you or set you off. And it's about connecting back to the present moment as a way of life. That's what being a Nowist is. It's throughout your whole day.
Mm-hmm. So what is like bi-terrestrial you talk about in one of your books?
Yeah, that's a concept that I say download it because this teaching, my name is on it and I brought it out in the world in 2018, but I don't feel like it came for me. I feel like it came through me for the world to teach people how to live in the present moment awareness as a way of life, because I feel like stress is the #1 killer on this planet. Heart disease is #1, cancer is #2, hospitalizations #3. The top 3 killers in the world largely have to do with stress in people's physical body and their psychological, connection to events that trigger them and allow them to be stressed, which cause addiction, that cause just bad behavior and bad habits. So I believe that living in this world with your feet fondly on the ground, but your awareness and your imagination high above the earth, that's the key. That's how you tether your highest self to your lowest self, because we are physical bodies in time right now. We are physical bodies having a spiritual experience. And most people think it's the opposite, that we're just as physical bodies that are just going to die and they're just going to become food for worms. But we are having this temporary physical experience on this planet because our spirit is infinite. I love Muktananda, the great saint. He says, that which is real never changes. So the physical body that is Billy changes. The 1-year-old body that is Billy, there's not a cell left in me. That keeps changing. But your soul is infinite and never changes. So that what is real never changes. So I want to connect people to that part of themselves that I believe has to live in physical time, because we're having this incarnation in our life. But our awareness is so infrequently connected to our highest self that lives out of physical time in this infinite oneness that we are all part of, in this God, divine, realized self. And to be a bi-terrestrial is somebody that lives with their feet fondly on the ground, but your awareness high above the earth, out of the gravity of your problem. So if you imagine your highest self hovering 3 miles above the earth, I mean, Jay, if you were up there right now, if you can imagine yourself, even with your eyes open, if you can imagine yourself, how's your imagination? Are you a very good visualizer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Could, like, instantly, can I say, hey, Jay, with your eyes open, we call this, divergent meditation. With your eyes open, could you see yourself hovering above the earth, just floating up there? Could you see it right now while you're looking at me through the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine yourself just floating up there? So if you're up there, how could you have any gravity of your problems, of your thought forms? You'd be in such awe because you're looking at this blue arc of the earth. You're looking out in immense space with these little pinholes that we call stars in the curtain of night. And you're just up there and you're in such awe. Your awareness couldn't go anywhere but the infinite, which you are part of, which you come from, which you'll return to. Because remember, that which is real never changes. You're connecting to the oneness, which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And if you can do that, knowing a bi-terrestrial is someone who's up there, but you're in everyday life. That's what being a Nowist is, becoming a bi-terrestrial. Someone that does a lot in the world. You're being of service to people. You're fulfilling, your mission, your dharma on this planet. But your awareness is not so focused on the stress of the physical time-bound disappointments and doubts and failures and successes. It's getting caught up in that brings so much stress into people's life. But if you can tether yourself to that highest self as a way of life, throughout the day, you're connecting back to that bi-terrestrial being that's on this physical planet, but it's also caught up into divinity and to oneness and to this infinite all that we all come from. That's what being a bi-terrestrial is. And that's what I love to teach folks, because being a Nowist is someone who is a bi-terrestrial. You're in the world, but you're not of the world, to quote Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like sometimes in my meditation, I will sort of like visualize being sort of free floating, like if you're under the ocean, but you don't have any issues with breathing, you're just sort of free floating. Or if you're in space, kind of like you've seen the astronauts, they're free floating, and you've seen the pictures of the International Space Station, and it just looks so calm and peaceful. It's putting your mind in a different place.
Yes. That is right on, Jay. That's exactly it. So people love to meditate, I guess, with images and imagine, feeling weightless is really important. The psychological state of floating is very important, because you're detaching to, the physical time. And like we said, physical time is the illusion. Einstein said time is an illusion, right? So why are we spending so much time focused on time-bound events and goals? And I don't believe in goal setting. I've done a lot of talks around the world, and Every time I get to the part where I say, I don't believe in goal setting, people don't, they say, what do you mean? You have a goal to get here today to speak to us. Like you had a goal to get on a plane and not miss the plane to get there to speak. And then you had an hour and a half to talk to us. I said, no, you missed the point. I believe in thinking from the end instead of about the end. About the end is goal setting. About the end is, okay, when I had this focus or this goal, like I wanted to make $1 million. And when I got that goal, then I was fulfilled, then I reached my goal. That was great. Or when I wanted to sell a house, because I'm a realtor, Jay, and I'm a property manager. That's how I monetize the Nowist mission. That's how I'm able to afford to have my live events and serve people and fly around and give talks and help people connect to what is, I consider, the present moment teaching of the Nowist. So people have this goal, but I believe when you can, for instance, here's a great example. So I'm a property manager and a realtor. So when I sell a property, I walk in that house and I imagine, after I've taken the listing, I imagine that it's Christmas time. And I walk in that house and I put my hands out as if I was praying. And I imagine where the Christmas tree would go. And I imagine that I'm walking into this house. This is before I've sold it, before I've even shown it to anybody. And I imagine that there's this beautiful family, and I'll let my awareness and my imagination just go wild and just pick what the family looks like. So I'll say, okay, it's a husband and a wife, and they have 2 kids, and they have a dog. And I'm walking over, and it's Christmas time, and I'm bringing them a gift because this is their new home, and it's Christmas, and the kids are running around. So I walk through the door, and I smell homemade bread cooking. I feel the love in the house. I hear Christmas music, and I can smell the tree, and I can taste the eggnog that they're handing me. My point is I engage all 5 of my senses. That's thinking from the end. But I do that every night before I go to bed and every morning when I wake up. So what I'm doing is priming my subconscious mind. I'm creating synchronistic moments that I can connect to the end and not about the end, not like, oh my gosh, I have this listing for 2 months and I have to sell it or the listing is over. Every day I focus on that when I get up in the morning, when I go to bed at night. So I'm priming my subconscious mind. So when I wake up, the universe will give me experiences that match up with my imagination and with how I've programmed my subconscious mind. We call those synchronicities. So what do you know? This one story I'll give you about the couple with the 2 kids and the dog. I did that for 8 days when I got this listing. That's the one that's coming to mind. And 8 days later, we got an offer from a family of that exact makeup, and we sold the property. So your thoughts are things. As you think, so you create, so you become. I call those spiritual breadcrumbs that you just pay attention to them. You can place them in your life and you can manifest from them, but it's the doubt that is our traitor. As William Shakespeare said, he says, our doubts are our traitors that make us lose the good we oft might win only if we believed. And there's this quote in my book, The Nowist, it says, your imagination is the sharpest knife to cut fear and doubt out of your life. So when you can use your imagination, when you have doubt and you worry it's not going to happen, you think from the end, not about the end. You see it as already done in this now moment. There's no timeline.
Well, is the visualization actually more important than, like having a good plan together? Because like you look and you think, I've written a book and it's only sold a few copies, or I'm a realtor and I haven't sold this house yet. But if you start to visualize and change, is that more important than your marketing strategy and any kind of techniques you use to try to sell or move certain products? Is the visualization
Well, you definitely
important?
cannot. Oh, that's a lovely question. I love that so much, because that's a question I get a lot, because people think, well, I can't just stay at home on my couch and meditate and pray and imagine. I don't do anything. People are going to come take my furniture, right? They're going to come take your house. We have to live in a physical world because that's what's happening. That's what is. I love Marcus Aurelius says, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny. That's what suits your needs. I mean, it's happening to you for a reason. But being that it's happening to you means we have to move in physical time, because we don't live in the infinite yet. We're not all one yet. We're not in this space of out of physical time in the infinite time. So we still have to have information, and we have to do things. We have tasks to knock off our list. I have like 15 appointments today on my calendar. We still have to do things in the world. And that is natural. That's obvious. We have to do things. We know that. But the bigger problem is people stress out about selling that house. Oh my gosh, is it gonna, if I need this money, I have to do open houses. My schedule's full. My kid is sick. How is this gonna work? The clients are really hammering me, even though we're overpriced. I wish it wasn't this price. And you have this negativity around it. That's why your imagination is so important, because I learned this from Dr. Wayne Dyer. People would ask him, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how is it that, you can say all these things and feel like you don't have to do anything? And how come you got leukemia, Dr. Wayne Dyer? You're this beautiful spiritual teacher. How could you get sick? He says, does it feel, and he was interviewed, this guy was interviewing him. I think his name was Dan Hicks from NBC. And he says, does it feel natural for you to be a linebacker for the New York Giants? And the guy, and he says, well, no, I'm 5'6", I weigh 150. He goes, yeah. So why would you choose something that doesn't feel natural to you? And here's what he said that was so important about answering your question about, well, you have to do things, but just visualization, what happens, it's to the degree of naturalness that it feels in your awareness and in your body is the reason you don't manifest what you want to manifest, because there is some doubt. That's why your imagination is so important. If you never slip, if you are consistent, you never slip of your thoughts of abstention, like you cannot make a mistake in the sense that you can't let fear and doubt come in. If you're consistent, like for me, for 8 days, I believe with all my heart and soul that this was the family. I saw them. I had all, and the reason you have all 5 of your senses engaged, because it makes it real to you in your imagination. It brings you into this physical world, but it also, like a biterrestrial, tethers you to this infinite imaginative state that is you out of physical time. And when that becomes completely natural to you, and you cannot believe when you open your eyes from your meditation and your imagination that it's not real, that's natural. And when that happens, that's when it's 100%, because the law of attraction is never broken.
So, I mean, is there any way to perfectly release doubt, to never have doubt again?
Well, I think doubt is part of, I call it spiritual immunity. We have to push up, when you're a weightlifter, you have to pick up tons of heavy weight, push up against a bunch of resistance to build your muscle. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day was Mr. Universe. He's in the he's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most perfect human specimen. The only way he did that was by pushing up against a bunch of resistance to sculpt his body to be this incredible, physical specimen. Well, I believe in spiritual immunity, and you can create sculpt this soul by pushing up a lot of resistance. So resistance comes as a gift. We're going to have doubts. We're going to have worries. We're going to have fears. But how do you push up against this resistance and not allow it to overcome you is by learning how to get through it, by using your imagination to get out of doubt, with your breath, with how do you use your internal dialogue? How do you use your thoughts? How is your point of attraction connecting to this negativity or this fear? That's why cleaning, the whole Ho'oponopono is so important. Your imagination is so important. And learning how to get out of doubt is also a way of life. It has to be a habit. That's why it's so important to learn to get in the present moment. Because in this present moment, what problem do you have, Jay? What do you have right now that's going on in your life? In this moment, that's a problem. In this second, right now, not in time, right now, in this, what problem do you have in this moment?
Well, I guess my son's home for summer and I have to take care of him, and I'm trying to do other things.
Okay, but that's in the future. That's not right now. That's an event that's coming. It's not right now.
Yeah.
What right now is the problem in your life? Right now, in this second. Now the next second. Now the next second.
I don't really have a problem right now.
There you go. So that is a famous Zen aphorism and a Zen practice that he would teach, he would teach his disciples. In this moment, what problem do you have? If not now, when? Like, these are all famous Zen aphorisms. And it teaches you the way, I'm just making this mind thing run my life because I'm worrying about the future and I'm thinking about the past. But in this moment, you have no problems. You have no worries. You have nothing but this present moment, which is out of time, which in this moment, you are perfect. You are out of chronological time, linear time. You're in the divine because we're in the now, because your awareness, and you can make that a way of life, and you just constantly bring yourself back to the now. You'll find that people will come up to you, Jay, and go, wow, you have this energy about you. Your countenance seems so peaceful. And so when you live as a nowist, people will start to come up to you and go, I want what you have. I want what you have. How do you do that? And then I'll say, okay, well, here's my book for free. Go to my website and listen to it. If you're running or if you're doing dishes, just put your AirPods in and listen to my book from BillyMandarino.com. It's there for free. If you want to buy it, go to Amazon. If you want to buy the book, send me an email and I'll send you a free copy autograph. I'm all about getting this mission out there and helping people live in present moment awareness as a way of life. And then learn to live in that ratio of 90-10. Because when you can do that, the subconscious part of your life, which runs 96% of everything we do in this world, is our subconscious mind. When you can make that a subconscious pattern, it's like people drive a car. I'm a golfer. I hit a golf ball without even thinking about it. My subconscious, if you're a chef, you cook a souffle without even thinking about it. So when you can learn to live in presence as a way of life, it takes over your life. And you're not surprised when this appointment gets delayed, and then I got another appointment, the other appointment gets moved, or, good things, I find the parking space, or, I have this idea for something and I serve somebody, and then the next day I get this check from $1,000 from the IRS I never thought. I mean, everything is connected to your presence, to your awareness, and how do you use the gift of your presence to serve the world? That's truly what my mission is create a legion of Nowists where we all just help elevate this planet in peace.
Did you have a spiritually transformative experience that sort of opened this up to you, or was it sort of a gradual process that you started coming to understand Nowism?
That's a great question, Jay, because I wasn't always connected to the present moment. I was a very stressed out younger man, very stressed out, very caught up in egoic endeavors. I was a professional model at 16. I'm a musician. I'm currently a musician, still creating music and performing. I've done probably 500 shows all over the years of performing music, and had a very egoic focus early in my life. And it started though from a divorced family. We had a pretty rough divorce in our family. I was 7 years old and had to sit on the stand and pick which parent I wanted to live with, my mom or my dad. The judge is there, the lawyers are there. I have to look them both in the face and choose one. And that was very traumatic and stressful. So I know if people don't do the deep work and work on themselves, you keep bringing these traumas back into your life. And then you keep having relationship problems, financial problems, physical problems, emotional problems, and you just don't know why your life is falling apart. It's because you've never done the deep work. Where after that trauma, when I was about 13 years old, I became kind of a spiritual seeker, like a spiritual sponge, if you will. And I remember just reading the New Testament 2 times. And then eventually, as I got older, like in my 20s, I realized that there was something more out there than just what I was reading in this one book. I kept reading all these other teachings. And then one day I realized that, fast forwarding quite a bit now, that the present moment was the most important moment to change my life. It wasn't about time, looking back at my childhood and my mommy issues and all the drama I've had and the physical, trauma, or looking forward and thinking it's going to be better someday and hoping it's better someday, because hope is kind of a beggar. I thought I need to get in a state of power. And I learned through a couple of traumatic instances about how the present moment could change my life. And I became this spiritual sponge. But then one day I had this epiphany, and it's a very long story. I'm going to tell you a really short version of it. But this spiritual sponge wrung out in the form of the book, The Nowist. And the book is about my spiritual journey. It's my spiritual memoir with teachings and practices and training of how to live as a Nowist and how I found the present moment. Just 2 years ago, Jay, I contracted COVID, and I was sick as a dog. My wife and daughter got COVID from me. They were fine a couple of days, but I spent 10 days right here in this very bed with 102 fever. This is about a year and a half ago. And I just couldn't break this 102 fever. And the doctor said, if you don't go to the hospital, my wife didn't take me, I was going to get COVID pneumonia. And so I hadn't told anybody that I was sick in my family. I have 6 brothers and sisters, a huge network of friends. I didn't want to tell anybody because my dad, who's 80, excuse me, had open heart surgery. And there's never been a Mandarino male since 1790, I think, has lived to be 80 years old. No one has ever lived to be 80 years old in the Mandarino family. So my father is 80s, having open heart surgery. I didn't want them praying and worrying about me. I wanted all of our energy to go to him. But on that 10th night, I told my wife, I said, we got to tell my family I need their prayers. And the next day I broke my fever and I started to recover. And I completely recovered, and I quarantined for the 12 days I think I had to at the time. I love to golf. Next morning I go golfing, play like 9-10 holes. And I come home back to this bed, and I wake up the next morning and I can't feel my face. I can't feel my hands. and then 2 days after that, I lost the ability to walk, and I became paralyzed. So my wife and daughter carry me down the stairs, take me to the hospital, and I'm claustrophobic, Jay. I don't have a lot of fears in my life, but that's one that I've struggled with a little bit. And I had to spend 4.5 hours in an MRI tube because they didn't know what was wrong with me and they couldn't knock me out. So that's when I learned, because the book came out in 2018, and this was about 2020, I think, that I was in the hospital. And I had to go quantum. Talk about being a bi-terrestrial. I had to use my imagination, my breath, the Nowist meditation. I must have done it 1,000 times. I just did not allow myself to be confined to physical time. I had to go what I call quantum. I had to get in that space that is the quantum realm, hovering above the planet. So for 4.5 hours, I had this intense detaching from physical time and the fear of claustrophobia and being confined in a 4.5 hour. I called it my COVID cocoon. Like a butterfly, that's a caterpillar. Then it goes to rigor mortis. And so from that, then I had to spend another 7 days in the hospital learning to, get this COVID, this Guillain-Barré syndrome is what it was that I contracted from COVID. And I was the first one in the county to get it. It was very strange and rare. And I don't get sick. I don't have flus, colds for over a decade. I haven't had a flu or a cold. And this thing almost killed me. Then 14 days after that, I had to go back to physical therapy and learn to walk again because Guillain-Barré syndrome basically paralyzed me. So in that time, I used everything that I have learned and everything that I teach in the book, The Nowist, how to heal my physical body, how to use my imagination to heal the physical part of my cells, my structure in my body, the muscles, all the electricity was gone from my system. So when I used the Nowist teachings and I internalized and all this energy into my body, along with all the prayers from everybody that was praying for me. I mean, I'm a local realtor, property manager, musician, I'm a philanthropic being who loves to serve people. They had my story on the front cover of the newspaper. So thousands of people were praying for me. And I could feel their prayers. Talk about your heart being the most magnetic part of your body. My heart was heating up. My pulse would go resting in a bed, paralyzed, from whatever a normal pulse was to 135 beats a minute. And would get hot. And the nurse would come in and go, "Oh my God, what's happening? You having a heart attack?" And I knew it was just the prayers. And so many people for those 21 days I was in the hospital, I couldn't see my wife and daughter. It was COVID. Nobody was allowed to come in. It became my spiritual practice. And that's what I made it. I said, okay, I'm going to make this my COVID cocoon, like a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, through rigor mortis and through all this pain and this suffering and this worry and this fear. I'm going to serve other people and I'm going to get better. And that's what I did. The doctors, the nurses, the physical therapists, the occupational therapists, the recreational therapists, I would just ask them about their lives and whatever I could do to serve them, I would. And I got better. It was kind of counterintuitive. You think, poor me, help me. I can't walk. I can't even move my arms. I can't even feel anything. But it was how I served them that I know was the connection to getting me healthy, walking again. And I had this miraculous recovery. And 2 months later, I was golfing again. And the doctor said it'd probably be a year before I got rid of all the numbness. And so I attribute it to everybody's prayers, but also strongly to the Nowist teaching and what I've learned through all these years and connecting to the infinite and the highest part of me.
So do you think that this type of intense Nowist application could work for maybe more long-term conditions, which aren't as imminent, life-threatening, but maybe are serious? Like if you had high blood pressure or your blood sugars are starting to go high, could you incorporate these same kind of things and just turn things around on other health issues?
Absolutely. There's a brilliant teacher that teaches just that. I've helped a lot of people with eating disorders, with depression, with suicidal tendencies. I do one-on-one coaching. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you've heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, have you heard of him, Jay?
Yeah, the name sounds
Dr.
familiar.
Joe, yeah, he's an incredible spiritual scientist, I call him. He's a spiritualist because he, through meditation, has, he does these 7-day retreats where they do like 40 hours of meditation, intense meditation and healing. And he has taken people out of Parkinson's, yes, diabetes, juvenile onset conditions, blindness, deafness, paralysis. It's incredible. And I hate to simplify it, but when you break it down, he's teaching people how to meditate. And similar to how I was in the hospital and using the power of my meditation and my breath and getting these, he calls them the energy centers or your chakras, how to use the energy centers of your body to upregulate DNA expressions in your physical body. So your DNA, creates proteins, creates cellular structure. And when you can learn to change the electricity in your body through meditation, because there's the perineum, which is the bottom of your, where your pelvis is. Then there's your cranium with the top. So when you can learn to move that energy up and down your spinal column, which are the blessing, there's 8 energy centers, 8 chakras. When you can change that with the power of your imagination, with the power of your breath, and then changing the DNA expression, because we're all electricity, we're made of energy. And when you can control that energy with the power of your intention and your attention, you can change physical aspects of your body. And if you look at anybody watching, listening to this, they should go to drjoedispenza.com, check out his story. 1987, he was a triathlete and he got hit by a Ford Bronco at 40 miles an hour, broke like 4 or 5 vertebrae in his back. And he needed this surgery where he put 2 steel rods, right? Because his vertebrae were cracked and he was in a wheelchair. And so he, at the time, he's Dr. Joe Dispenza because he was a chiropractor at the time. Now he's a spiritualist. I call him, the spiritualist, the scientist, spiritual teacher that he is. He's one of the most powerful teachers on the planet right now. So he healed his back, I think in about 3 to 6 months. You have to listen to his story. You can go to YouTube and find the story as well. It's powerful, but he did it without any surgery, without any medication. He basically healed his spine through the power of his meditation, his awareness, and this unbelievable gift that we have of the ability to heal ourselves with the chemistry, with the awareness, the energy in our body, connected to the divine, connected to the universal oneness that we all come from. Because the quantum realm, our healing already exists. I mean, where do you use your imagination? Where do you put your intention and your attention? He just placed it and would imagine himself totally healed. He'd imagine himself walking again. He'd imagine himself once again with all 5 of his senses, walking out of that wheelchair, feeling strong again, biking, running, doing the triathlons again, completely healed. And it's unbelievable. So now he teaches people how to do that. And he's been doing it for 30, 40 years. He's an incredible being. And when I do my one-on-one coaching, I bring some of his teachings into the teaching because he's the spiritual scientist. I mean, he teaches you in the scientific because he does he'll put these caps on people at his seminars with 160 diodes on it, which connect to the brain activity. And how with that brain activity, you can see with these people's meditations that the energy field of their body just goes crazy and expands. And you can see how they light up. And when they light up, they have an experience. They have a shift. They have this quantum shift in their body. And they've been able to, there's a story he tells about this woman that had Parkinson's, and she was with a cane. She had, her tissue always was out her mouth because she was drooling all the time. She couldn't swallow. She couldn't stand up. She couldn't, chew her food properly. And on the 4th day of this seminar, she stood up, walked up these stairs on the stage with her cane. And then she stood up to Joe. She was no longer drooling. And Parkinson's is a lack of dopamine in your brain. So she, through this epigenetic expression of her body, activated dopamine centers of her brain that were shut off before. And she did it purely through meditation and connection to the divine that is part of her.
Yeah, is that kind of similar to, I've had like a few hypnotherapists on, and it seems very similar to meditation, but it's like very intense and it's very directed and they get a lot of good results. Is it sort of like you have to have an intensity and a very strong direction in meditation, whatever form or terminology you use to get some of these more dramatic results?
Yeah, it also, you've heard of Kundalini yoga,
Mm-hmm.
Kundalini. Yeah. So Kundalini largely deals with the breath connected to your meditation. And that's what Dr. Joe does. There's a breath, an intense breath. And there's also this motion, I think he calls it the bandhas, where you are breathing in such a way, and you're in your what's called hypoxification, where you're getting so much oxygen to your blood, to your system, it's moving the energy of your body. And then you do the perineum, which is the floor of your pelvis. You learn to squeeze that, and you get this energy. There's this fluid that runs up your spinal column. And when you can get that fluid to go, it's really kind of technical and complex. I'm going to just give you the really rough version of it, but definitely if your listeners and viewers can go to drjoedispenza.com, you'll learn all about this. He's got tons of meditations and teachings, and you can go see him live. I mean, his events sell out like a half hour. There's 2,000 people there for a week in Cancun, Florida, London. He does these every other month, I think, all over the world. But the real quick Cliff Notes version is you take the energy of your body, once you get this hypoxification, this energy moving in your body, and you kind of push down on your perineum, and then you push this fluid that is your spinal fluid up to the top of your head, and you affect the pineal gland, which is this gland where you experience these mystical, transformations in your life. And that's what these people have been doing. And you can do that with meditation. So it's a physical action. It's not just hypnosis and thinking and imagining and getting into your subconscious mind. There's a physical action that goes with this. And that's why people are having these transformations and these healings. They're all over the world. You can go on YouTube, look up drjoedispenza.com, and just look up, it says miraculous healing. There's so many of them, and it'll blow your mind. And he's a powerful force for change in the planet right now.
And you're sort of connecting with your own divine energy, and maybe the energy of source or God or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. You're connecting to the oneness, because ultimately we are all one. We all return to the oneness. We all come from the oneness. We're all one. And the two-ness is the problem, because I've always learned that how could the God of oneness ever recognize two-ness? Because if the one was two, it wouldn't exist. There'd be this duality. And that's what we are. We are duality. When you live in, we're physical beings in time, but we're actually spiritual beings having this temporary experience. And we get so caught up in that duality that we miss the power of our present moments. We miss the power of our meditation, of our connecting to the infinite, connecting to the divine. Because we're so concerned about paying the bills, or going to that appointment, or picking up your kid from soccer, or rushing to, whatever it is, an appointment you have with friends. And you just get so caught up in the physical world. And that's the rub, is that we're so caught up in physical time that we forget to get in the vertical. And when those 2 points cross, that's how you get into now. And to do it as a way of life is my mission, is to teach people how to live as a Nowist 90% of their day. And they'll be surprised. You won't be surprised, actually, when you get there, that everything in your life starts to fall into place, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, familially. You just find ways to deal with the stress of this physical time-bound world that we are all in temporarily.
Mm-hmm. Would you be open, before we close, to doing maybe the 1 minute Nowist meditation?
Sure. So it's a little bit complex. So I'll just tell you the 4 prayers. And I'll tell you quickly how the 4 prayers came to be, because it was evolved over time. It wasn't like one day I just downloaded the Nowist meditation and there it was. It was evolving probably over 2 years before I wrote the book, that it was all coming through me. And I was experiencing it and kind of giving it a test run and seeing how it helped me live in the present moment. And I would do this meditation. I learned to do it open-eyed, by calling, divergent meditation. And then closed-eyed, convergent meditation, where you're closing your eyes and you're focusing on the image of hovering above the earth. And that's the thing. It's about learning how to psychologically float. To meditate means you have to get out of physical time. You have to lose the gravity of your problems, the gravity of your awareness. And so when I do this meditation, that's why it's a little complex. I'm going to tell you the 4 prayers, but if you want to go deeper, go to billymandarino.com. You can also go to YouTube and look up the Nowist meditation on my site, which is Billy Mandarino, the Nowist. But if you go to billymandarino.com, all those social media sites link out from there, so you can go right to them. But billymandarino.com is the hub. So the 4 prayers are this: I am that I am, the conquering presence in the now. I have nothing to do, only to be done. I am altogether God, and God is altogether me. I am the light of the world. So as you say these 4 meditations, these 4 prayers, you imagine yourself hovering above the earth. And there's a breath, and there's also an arm motion that goes with it. And so I just had my second Nowist experience live just last month down the street here in Santa Barbara at the Hilton Beachside Resort. We streamed live all over the world. If you go to billymandarino.com, you can click on that right above my, the very top of my banner page there on my website. You can click it and you can see the 20 hours of Nowist teaching, the 2-day experience. We had people, a ballroom full of people. We streamed live all over the world, and you can learn how to do this meditation with me and a bunch of people and an audience, and how I teach it step by step. It took 2-3 hours to teach it over 2 days because I do it in segments. And at the end of it, after 2 days, people literally they learn how to live in present moment awareness as a way of life. They become Nowists, basically. They get set on their path. Because it's never done. I mean, we're never done. You're always learning. You're always expanding. It's about your practice. Like, you can't just say, okay, I meditated once and now I'm purely connected to divine and I'm done and I'll never feel stress again. It's a ritual. To be a Nowist is a way of life. It's a practice. It's not a religion.
Well, thanks for coming on today. Where can people pick up your book if they want to purchase your book?
Jake, thank you so much, brother, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I've watched some of your other episodes. I really love your heart and how you come from a place of serving people and especially the near-death experiences. I listened to a whole episode about a gentleman that had a near-death experience on his motorcycle. He crashed into it was really fascinating. So I love it because I love the unknown. I believe the unknown is where the growth is. And I love, Jay, that you keep going into that unknown. You're trying to shine the light on it so people can experience it, because that's really where you can't get so caught up in the known and trying to control things. You got to go outside of your comfort zone. That's where you expand. So the unknown is where the growth is, and don't fear it. You need to keep going deeper. But if you want to go deeper, go to billymandarino.com. That's the hub for all the teaching. There's online courses. I do one-on-one coaching. Every year I throw a live event, the Nowist Experience Live. And so you can just check into my website and find out what's happening. YouTube, tons of free teaching on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're all over the place.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on the show and being a part of it. We really appreciated it.
It's my pleasure, Jay. And peace to you. Namaste. And God bless you, brother.
God bless you too.